Hey, humanities kids. Good morning. It's Tuesday. I had meant to do this last night, but with the holiday of Easter and spending time with my family, I finished a 2,000 piece puzzle instead. So hopefully you're still sleeping. I've seen that. So the way my day is looking with this whole distance learning is in the morning is when I hear from parents and other teachers and have meetings. And you guys start waking up around 11, right when I'm going to lunch and then doing your work, which is just fine. This morning I shared the study guide for all of 14. I didn't break it up. And so I'm giving you a lot of time to turn it in. Basically, this week, it's already Tuesday, and then next week, because I posted a ton of links, stuff that I would lecture on normally in class and show you. And I really do want you to look at those, and they're in order of your reading. And so I don't expect you to obviously look at all the links in one day. Just if you notice there's a name that you just read about, maybe you could take some time to learn some more information. Chapter 13 is right here, and it's called The Assault on Tradition. And your textbook people decided to use Munch's Scream to as a picture to kind of sum up what was going on during this time period, which I think was probably a good choice. So this time period that you're reading about is, oh, there's my sign. That's my nickname. Is 1890 to 1950. A lot of terrible things happened in the world during that time, and when things happen to the world that are bad, it influences how people feel and think, what they write, what they produce. Probably like COVID-19 in 2020. By the way, I hope you guys are doing okay. I have my moments. I'm pretty mentally tough, I think. I'm old. I've been through a lot of stuff. But this is hard. I really should be more productive, but I find sometimes that I just can't believe this is happening and I miss people and I want to go somewhere. I feel like we're all grounded. All of humanity got in trouble and we're just waiting to be able to go have fun and see. I just miss holding my friends and touching them, and not in a creepy way, of course, but just being with other people. So anyway, hopefully it'll be over before we know it, and I hope you guys are doing okay. All right, so let's talk about chapter 14. So the bad things that happened: World War One, the Great Depression was in there, where the stock market collapsed. By the way, things are pretty bad economically here right now too, and in the whole world, because of COVID-19. Hopefully, we'll come out. Well, we will come out of it eventually. It always ends. But anyway, so this period that you're reading about encompassed World War One, the Great Depression, where people just lost everything in America and other places too, and then World War Two. And so all of these experimental governments we talked about in Unit 13, democracy, capitalism, socialism, communism, and the big questions that people were asking, how should we govern ourselves? What's the best way? And I guess the answer for this time period in chapter 14 is there isn't one. People lost hope. And so the overall theme is madness, like the Scream picture that you see, chaos, writers, musicians, artists, philosophers all kind of emphasize the meaningless of life sometimes. Not everybody, but as an overall theme because of all the stuff that was going on. And let's see. The chapter is called Assault on Tradition. Assault's a really powerful word, and that's on purpose because that's what these artists were doing, is basically sticking a big fat finger up to the man and saying, tradition, we're going to assault it. We're going to change things because people are crazy. All right, so you are going to start by learning about important people like Einstein, E equals MC squared, very important scientist. I have a bio and my links on him. And then Sigmund Freud is a big name from this time period, and he started the practice of psychoanalysis and has some really interesting theories, like, oh my gosh, the Oedipal complex, which is taken from the play Oedipus Rex, which is a great play, by the way, from ancient Greece. And basically he said that all little boys want to be with their moms, and then they learn they can't, and that's when they learn to like their fathers. And he also said that women have penis envy, which I would disagree with, but hey, that's one of his theories. So I have a link on his bio, and I also have another link for you to talk about his theories to try to understand the id, the ego, and the superego, which were terms that he came up with. Was big into the subconscious mind and trying to figure out how to help people with problems they were having. And then you're going to read about some writers. Yeats is a really famous writer who wrote something called The Second Coming, and I have a link on that, and also a link explaining it, talking about the mediocre majority, I guess. We've heard that before from people like Nietzsche. Also writers like Kafka, who wrote The Metamorphosis. I think you read that in 10th grade, or you should have part of it. I don't think you got to read the whole thing, but it's a story that uses the absurd, which you'll see is a theme in some of the literature and art from this period. It's about a guy who wakes up in the morning and he's turned into a cockroach, a gigantic, gross bug. And of course, that's all symbolic, but an interesting story. And then James Joyce wrote a trilogy called Ulysses. I like every single book I've read, something about it at least, because I'm a lit major and I'm amazed by characters and stories and all that stuff. But I actually did not like Ulysses. I had to take it as a class. And James Joyce, he assaults tradition too. He uses a lot of vulgarity. His big main hero, his big accomplishment is like making it through the day. So just a different kind of story. So I've got information about both those guys. Movies were big. Sci-fi movies were big during this time period, or just starting to be. Also, Frank Lloyd Wright changed architecture, and he's from America. And once you watch the video about him, you'll be able to pick out buildings that look like his style. Interesting guy. So like when he built something for you, he actually would pick out the furniture too, and even pick out your clothes that you should wear that went with the stuff that he put in there. Okay, and then we have music. Okay, composers also were assaulting tradition. You're going to be reading about a guy named Stravinsky who composed something called The Rite of Spring, which was turned into a ballet. And your textbook says that when it was performed, people were so ticked off because it made them feel uncomfortable and they didn't like the sounds, that they were hissing and booing and throwing stuff. He actually, the police were called and he had to escape through a back window. So I have that ballet for you, and it is explained as well in one of the links. There's a ton of links, you guys. And then jazz, the birth of jazz happened during this time period, which is a good thing, I think, because it influenced almost all the music that we listen to today. So there's a bio about the birth of jazz and then some of the influential musicians from that time period. I wish I could do this all face to face. I'm not going to lecture individually on all this stuff because I know you don't want to see me that much. It's awful seeing these videos, by the way. Yeah, I got old and large, but don't talk about it. All right, well, I'll be busily looking at all the work that you're turning in. Please ask me questions. Turn these things in. You guys have plenty of time to do it. We were told to give you an easier workload so that you can fit it in with whatever schedule you've got going. I know that some of you are really busy and some of you are working really hard at your jobs because you're essential employees. I wish I was. I mean, I'm working hard, but I don't like being here. Okay. Well, it's a beautiful day outside, it looks like, so get outside, and you have 2 weeks to get through all this stuff. Please read everything. You do have the time, and you'll learn a lot of stuff. And we could be thankful at least we're not living during the Great Depression yet. Fingers crossed. Bye, guys.